Evacuation order issued. The Krixtha juvenile just broke containment protocols and security's threatening lethal force. Security Chief Zelax's voice crackled through every comm unit on Station Artemis 7, sharp with the kind of authority that made crew members drop everything and run. All personnel clear sectors 7 through 12. Lethal protocols authorized. I repeat, lethal protocols authorized. In the xenobiology lab 3 levels up, Azila's 4 eyes widened in horror as she watched the security feeds. No, he's just scared. Look at the posture indicators. Her clawed hands flew across the holographic display, pulling up behavioral data that no one was bothering to read. The Krixtha juvenile, barely 6 months old but already the size of an earth tiger, had backed itself into the corner of the observation corridor, every one of its crystalline spines extended in threat display. The sonic resonators along its throat were vibrating visibly, generating that distinctive pre-roar buildup that had cleared entire planets. Azila, you need to authorize the kill shot. Zelax appeared beside her, his scaled hand already hovering over the command override. Proxima Station lost 3 handlers to a juvenile. 3. This species drove 12 civilizations to complete extinction before we even discovered them. He's injured. Azila jabbed a talon at the medical scanner readout. Rear left appendage shows microfractures. He's displaying fear aggression, not hunting behavior. Ma'am, we have a bigger problem. The security officer's voice cracked with barely controlled panic. There's someone in there. Both of them snapped to the live feed. And there, standing maybe 15 feet from a creature that represented every nightmare the galactic community had about uncontrolled predator evolution, was a human. Emma Johnson, according to her ID badge. Station zookeeper. She wore the standard-issue work coveralls, had her brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, and was holding a half-eaten sandwich in one hand. She wasn't running. She wasn't even moving fast. She just stood there, calm as morning, while the cub's roar built in its throat like a coming storm. Get her out. Zelax slammed every alarm he could reach. Override the doors. Activate the barrier fields. Doors are locked from the emergency protocol, sir. Barrier fields would trap her inside with it. Through the observation windows, 5 security officers had their plasma rifles trained on the cub, fingers trembling on triggers that they all knew they'd have to pull the moment it attacked. Because Krixtha juveniles were faster than adults, more aggressive than adults, and had every biological weapon their species had evolved over millions of years at the top of the food chain, with absolutely none of the restraint. The cub's roar started. The sonic weapon hit frequencies that made the reinforced windows vibrate, that sent harmonic feedback through every audio. Pickup in the sector. 3 of the security officers staggered, hands clasping over their auditory sensors. Emma winced, her face scrunching up. Okay, buddy, I hear you, she said, her voice somehow carrying through the chaos. You're really upset. She sat down, just dropped into a cross-legged position on the floor, sandwich still in hand. What is she doing? Zelax's voice had gone from commanding to nearly hysterical. She should be dead. A sonic blast at that frequency ruptures internal organs. Azila's scanners were going insane. Human physiology. The readings don't make sense. There should be catastrophic cellular damage, but she's just sitting there. The cub roared again, louder this time, confused by prey that wouldn't run. Its crystalline spines rattled with aggression, venom glands visibly swelling along its jaw ridges. Emma took a bite of her sandwich. Is she eating? One of the security officers lowered his rifle in pure shock before quickly raising it again. Emma Johnson. Zelax activated the emergency comm, his voice booming into the containment area. You need to evacuate immediately. That creature will kill you." "Yeah, he's scared," Emma called back, not taking her eyes off the cub. "Give me 5 minutes." "That's a Crixtha. It killed 3 handlers on Proxima Station. Galactic Council protocols require—" "5 minutes," Emma repeated, and something in her tone made it clear she wasn't asking permission. Station Director Kale Thas burst into the security hub, his typically composed demeanor completely shattered. "Someone explain why we have a human in a hot containment zone with the galaxy's most dangerous predator species." She walked in before the lockdown completed, Azila said, unable to tear her eyes from the feed. "Sir, we have 40 seconds before mandatory lethal engagement." "Then engage." "She's in the firing line," the security officer said quietly. "Any shot that hits the Crixtha might hit her too." Everyone watched as Emma broke off a piece of her sandwich and, with a gentle underhanded toss, threw it toward the cub. Not at it, just near it. The cub's roar cut off mid-frequency. "Did she just—" Kyle Thas couldn't finish the sentence. "She fed it," Zilax whispered. "She's feeding the apex predator that hunted us." Emma smiled, that same calm expression never wavering. "I know, right? Today's been terrible for both of us." "Tuna sandwich." The piece of tuna sandwich landed about 3 feet from the cub's front claws. The creature's head swiveled to track it, threat display flickering with confusion. Every predator instinct it possessed said moving things were prey. But this thing had stopped moving. And now it was offering food? "Biochemical analysis of the human," Kyle Thas snapped. "Fear response? Stress hormones?" Azila's fingers danced across her scanner, then froze. "Director, there's no adrenaline spike, no cortisol elevation. Her heart rate is actually decreasing." "That's impossible. She's facing lethal danger." "The scanners don't lie, sir. According to every physiological marker we can read, Emma Johnson is relaxed." In the containment area, Emma took another bite of her sandwich, chewing thoughtfully. "You know what's funny?" she said conversationally to the cub, as if they were having lunch together. "I bet nobody asked if you wanted to be here. New place, weird smells, strange sounds. That'd stress me out too." The cub's crystalline spines lowered fractionally. Its sonic resonators pulsed once, twice, but the roar that emerged was noticeably quieter than before. "Less, I will end you, and more, I am still very concerned about this situation." "There you go," Emma said gently. "Use your indoor voice." "Indoor voice?" Zilax turned to Azila. "What is an indoor voice?" "Human colloquialism, I think, for quieter communication." Azila shook her head, baffled. "Sir, this doesn't follow any known xenopsychology patterns. Crix the juveniles attack movement. They're triggered by fear pheromones. They perceive vulnerability as invitation to strike." "Then why hasn't it attacked?" "I have no idea." Emma shifted her position slightly, moving from cross-legged to kneeling. Every security officer's finger tensed on their triggers. The cub's eyes tracked the movement with laser focus, muscles bunching. "Easy does it," Emma murmured. "Just getting more comfortable. This floor is murder on the tailbone." She reached into her other pocket. "Hold fire!" Zilax shouted as 3 rifles swung to target position. "Johnson, stop moving!" Emma pulled out a protein bar. "Anybody tell you folks about lunch breaks? Because my shift started at 0600 and it's now." She glanced at her wristcom. 13:30, and I am starving. She unwrapped the protein bar with deliberate slowness, the crinkling sound echoing in the tense silence. The cub's head tilted, that universal gesture of confusion that transcended species. Its venom glands pulsed, ready to deploy toxins that could dissolve reinforced hull plating. Emma took a bite. "Chocolate chip, want some?" "She's insane," one of the security officers whispered. "Humans are actually insane." "Check her medical records," Kyle Thoss ordered. "Psychological evaluations. There has to be an explanation for this behavior." "All evaluations show normal human baseline," Azila reported after a moment. "She's not neurologically compromised. She's just being human. That cannot be normal human behavior." According to the database, her previous occupation was wildlife rehabilitation specialist on Earth. She has certifications in... Azila's voice went up an octave. Dangerous predator management, behavioral psychology, and trauma response in carnivorous species. "You hired someone who specializes in dangerous predators," Zilak said slowly, "and didn't think to mention this when we received a Crixtha specimen. I didn't think it was relevant. Earth predators are nothing compared to a Crixtha." In the containment area, Emma broke off another piece of her protein bar. This time, she tossed it a bit closer to the cub, maybe 2 feet from its claws. The creature watched the morsel land, looked at Emma, looked back at the food. "It's okay," Emma said softly. "It's not a trap. Just food. You can take it if you want, or leave it. Your choice, buddy." The cub extended one claw. Security collectively held their breath. Those claws could punch through starship hulls, had evolved specifically to crack open the armored shells of prey species that thought they'd found safety in technology. The cub delicately speared the piece of protein bar and brought it to its mouth. It chewed experimentally. Its spines lowered another increment. "Oh, you like chocolate?" Emma's smile brightened. "Yeah, most creatures do. Something about the fat content, maybe? I'm not a scientist." "The threat assessment AI just crashed," a security officer reported, voice numb with disbelief. "It literally cannot compute what it's seeing. The algorithm assumes the human should be dead." "Join the club," Zilax muttered. Emma scooted forward. Maybe 6 inches, barely noticeable. But every alien in the observation deck felt their equivalent of a heart skip a beat. The cub didn't attack. It just watched, head tilted further, as this strange, soft creature slowly closed the distance between certain death and tuna sandwiches. "You're doing great," Emma told it. "Really brave. I know this is scary, but you're handling it like a champ." "She's praising it," Azila breathed. "She's treating the galaxy's apex predator like a frightened child," Kael'thas finished, something shifting in his expression. "Because that's what it is." The cub's roar came again, but this time it was different. Less sonic weapon, more vocalization, almost like it was trying to communicate. "I don't speak Crixtha yet," Emma said apologetically, "but I'm getting the vibe you're trying to tell me something. You hurt somewhere, sweetie." The cub shifted its weight, and for the first time, everyone in the observation deck noticed what Emma had apparently spotted immediately. It was favoring its rear left leg. "By the ancestors," Azila whispered. "She's right. There's a microfracture." How did she see that from body language alone? Emma was now less than 10 feet from the cub. Close enough that one pounce would end her. Close enough that its venom could reach her in a single spray. Close enough that those claws could strike faster than any rescue attempt. "That leg's bothering you, huh?" Emma kept her voice gentle, melodic. "Yeah, I can see you're not putting weight on it. That's gotta hurt. Want me to take a look?" She extended one hand, palm up, fingers relaxed. A posture of offering, not threat. moving with the kind of patience that suggested she had all day, that there was nowhere else in the universe she'd rather be than sitting on a cold floor with a creature designed by evolution to be the perfect killer. The cub stared at her hand. Then, slowly, hesitantly, it leaned forward and sniffed. In the observation deck, someone dropped their data pad. The clatter barely registered. Everyone was too focused on watching the impossible happen in real time. "There you go," Emma whispered. "See? I'm not scary. Just a weird alien who thinks you deserve better than being shot for being scared." The cub's spines retracted completely. The emergency conference hologram flickered to life, and Galactic Conservation Director Vex Thul's image materialized with the kind of urgency reserved for extinction-level events. His 6 sensory stalks were rigid with alarm. "I'm watching a live feed that my analysts insist is genuine. Please tell me this footage has been compromised." "It's real, Director," Kael'thas said grimly. "We have a human in direct contact with a Crix the Juvenile." "Contact? She's practically—" Vex Thul's image zoomed closer to his own display. "Is she talking to it?" Emma's voice came through the audio feed, warm and conversational. "That's a really good, scary face. Very intimidating. You practice that in the mirror? Because the spines out thing is working for you." The cub's head tilted again, that confusion deepening. Its defensive posture was melting like ice under a sun. Spines retracting, venom glands shrinking back to normal size, the rigid, battle-ready stance softening into something almost curious. "Tactical team is 2 minutes out," Zilax reported, pulling up schematics. "We have tranquilizer protocols ready, lethal backup if needed." "Nobody's shooting anything." Emma's voice cut through the tactical planning like a blade. She hadn't even glanced at the observation windows, but somehow she'd heard them. "He's just a kid." "That kid has venom that dissolves bone." Vex Thul's stalks quivered with frustration. "Claws that cut through starship hulls, a sonic weapon that can shatter internal organs. Ms. Johnson, with all respect, you don't understand what you're dealing with." "Yeah, and he's also limping on his back left leg." Emma finally looked toward the observation window, her expression patient but firm. "Did anyone check if he's hurt?" The command center went silent. The kind of silence that follows someone pointing out an obvious truth that everyone missed because they were too busy panicking. Azila's claws flew over her scanner with renewed purpose. The biometric data scrolled past, anatomical overlays highlighting stress points and injuries that had been buried under threat assessments and kill protocols. "By the ancestors," she breathed. "There's a microfracture in his rear appendage, and signs of impact trauma. He probably tried to jump in the transfer process and landed wrong." "Of course there is." Emma turned back to the cub, her voice dropping to that gentle register again. "You're scared and hurting. Wouldn't you roar too if something hurt and you didn't know how to tell anyone?" She scooted forward another few inches. Security officers shifted, fingers on triggers, every muscle tensed for the strike that training said was inevitable. The cub roared again, but this time, every audio analysis system in the station registered the difference. Not a weapon, not a threat. A vocalization that their translation algorithms kept trying and failing to interpret because Crixtha weren't supposed to make sounds like this. Sounds that registered closer to distress calls than hunting screams. "I know it hurts, sweetie." Emma made herself smaller, shoulders curving inward, head slightly lowered. She wasn't making direct eye contact, just these quick, soft glances that somehow conveyed attention without challenge. "Can I see? I promise I'll be gentle." Every xenopsychology protocol says that posture should trigger an attack, Azila said, her voice hollow with disbelief. Prey species make themselves small. Krixtha are hardwired to strike at vulnerable targets. The cub sat down. Just sat. Rear legs folding, the injured one extended slightly to reduce pressure. Front legs settling into a resting position. Its crystalline spines lay flat against its body. Its mouth closed, venom glands invisible. What? Zilak stared at the feed like it had personally betrayed him. That's not. They don't rewrite the protocols, Vexthul said faintly. Every single xenopsychology protocol we have for this species. They're all wrong. Emma was now 8 feet away. Close enough to touch. Close enough to die in a heartbeat. She moved with liquid patience, each motion telegraphed and slow, giving the cub every opportunity to process and accept her presence. There we go, she murmured. You're being so brave. I know you don't know me, don't know if you can trust me. But I'm here to help, okay? Just help. The cub made a sound, low, rumbling, almost interrogative. She's having a conversation with it, Azila said numbly. A Krixtha, the species that communicates through violence and dominance displays. And she's conversing. How? Kailthas looked at the human behavioral specialist they'd pulled from the database. How is this possible? I don't know, the specialist admitted. Humans have empathy responses that cross species barriers. But this level of interspecies communication shouldn't work with a predator this aggressive. Every model we have says it should have killed her immediately. Your models, Emma called out, still not looking away from the cub. Didn't account for him being in pain. Fear and pain look a lot like aggression when nobody's paying attention. Emma extended her hand fully now, palm still up, fingers loose. Can I look at your leg? I promise I'll be gentle. The cub's nostrils flared, processing her scent. In the observation deck, every being capable of holding breath did exactly that. This was the moment. The strike window. The point where instinct would override everything else, and those claws would flash out and... The cub lowered its head and sniffed her hand. Thoroughly, methodically, like it was reading her biography through pheromones and skin chemistry. Emma stayed perfectly still, letting the creature investigate, her expression soft and patient. Then the cub shifted its injured leg toward her. Oh, thank you, Emma breathed. Her hands moved with practiced confidence, fingers probing gently along the appendage. The cub flinched once, and Emma immediately eased off. Sorry, I know that spot hurts. Yeah, you pulled something. Probably jumped too hard trying to explore, huh? New places are exciting. She looked up at the observation window. Can someone bring the medical kit and maybe some actual food? Not sedatives. Food. Real food. Whatever cricks the juveniles are supposed to eat. You want us to reward it for escaping? Zilax's voice cracked with disbelief. Emma's expression hardened just a fraction. I want you to treat an injured, frightened child. Yes. Silence. Then Azila was moving, rushing from the observation deck. I'll get the supplies. What else do you need? Anti-inflammatory if you have something compatible with his biology. Compression wrap for the leg. And water. He's probably dehydrated from the stress. 3 minutes later, Azila appeared at the airlock with a hovering medical cart. She cycled it through, hands shaking as she watched Emma retrieve the supplies. The cub's eyes tracked the movement, but its posture remained relaxed, curious rather than threatened. Good boy, Emma murmured, returning with her arms full. See, just help. That's all this is. She applied the anti-inflammatory gel with smooth, gentle strokes, talking the entire time. Your species might be scary to everyone else, but you're just trying to figure out the world, aren't you? Big universe out there. Lots of confusing things. I get it. The cub made a sound, a churring, trilling thing that the translation algorithms had never encountered. It wasn't in any Crixtha database, because adult Crixtha didn't make sounds like that. But infant mammals across 1,000 worlds did. It was Containment. This is impossible, Vexthul said from his hologram. But the conviction had drained from his voice. Crixtha imprint on hunters, on dominance, on strength. They don't respond to compassion. Emma laughed, actually laughed, warm and genuine. Maybe that's your problem. I'm not prey, I'm not hunting. I'm just here, present, treating him like a living thing that deserves care instead of a problem that needs solving. She wrapped the leg with expert precision, her fingers moving through the compression technique like she'd done it 1,000 times. On Earth, we have this saying in animal rehab. Every scared animal is the same. They need to know you won't hurt them. Doesn't matter if it's a kitten or a crocodile. Fear is fear. Pain is pain. Earth has crocodiles? Azila asked weakly. Oh yeah, and grizzly. Bears, and great white sharks, and wolves, and tigers, and about 1,000,000 other things that can absolutely kill you. Emma pulled out a compressed food pack from the medical kit, reading the label. Synthetic protein matrix with trace minerals. This the good stuff? That's the dietary formulation we use. Emma opened it and offered a piece to the cub. The creature sniffed it, then took it delicately from her fingers. Not a snap, not a lunge. Gentle, almost polite. There you go, Emma said softly. Not so scary when someone's nice to you, huh? She reached out, slowly, telegraphing every movement, and placed her hand on the cub's side. Just rested it there. Warm contact, steady pressure. Every alien in the observation deck gasped in unison. The cub leaned into the touch. She's petting it, someone whispered. She's petting a Crixtha. Ms. Johnson, Vexthul said carefully, like he was trying not to spook her. How is this possible? What are you doing that we couldn't? Emma glanced up, her hand still on the cub's side, fingers scratching gently at the base of its spines. You're thinking about this wrong. You see a predator. I see a baby. You see weapons. I see a scared kid who got hurt and didn't know how to ask for help. She smiled. I've handled grizzly bears, crocodiles, and wolf packs. Spent 5 years in wilderness rehabilitation. He's just a big kitten who needs someone to understand him. The cub settled down fully, its massive head coming to rest near Emma's knee. It made that churring sound again, eyes half closing. Humans, Kyle Thas said slowly, don't trigger the same predator-prey responses. We're persistence hunters, Emma explained, still petting the cub. We're not fast, we're not strong, we don't have natural weapons. We survived by being smart, adaptable, and weirdly good at understanding other species. You know how many apex predators humans have domesticated? Most of them eventually. We turned wolves into dogs. We convinced cats to live with us. We taught elephants to trust us, horses to carry us. It's kind of our thing. Your thing is befriending creatures that should kill you. Zilak sounded like he was reevaluating every human security clearance on the station. Our thing, Emma corrected gently, is recognizing that every living thing is more than just its teeth and claws. This little guy, he's smart, social, capable of trust. You just have to speak his language. The cub was now fully relaxed against her, eating peacefully, letting this strange, soft alien tend to his wounds and murmur nonsense words that somehow felt like safety. "We need to rewrite everything," Vexithul said quietly. "Every conservation protocol, every containment procedure, every assumption we've made about aggressive species." "Or," Emma suggested, "you could just hire more humans. We're really good at this." 3 hours later, the crisis had transformed into something else entirely. The Crix, cub, lay sprawled across the containment area floor, its massive head resting in Emma's lap, breathing slow and even in deep sleep. Emma sat with her back against the wall, one hand absently scratching behind the cub's auditory ridges, while the other scrolled through reports on her datapad. In the command center, the senior staff watched the feeds in silence that had moved beyond shock into something like religious awe. "We need to completely rewrite conservation protocols," Vexthul said finally. His hologram flickered as he transmitted new directives. "Every aggressive species designation, every containment procedure, every assumption we've built our xenobiology programs on for the last 2 centuries. Humans have instinctive understanding of cross-species psychology," Azila added, her 4 eyes still fixed on the impossible tableau. "It's not training. It's not technique. It's something fundamental to their species." Kael'thas pulled up Earth's historical database, scrolling through entry after entry. "How many dangerous species have humans domesticated?" Emma's voice came through the comm, casual as ever. "On Earth? Most of them, eventually. Took a few thousand years and some trial and error, but we figured it out. I'm drafting new protocols now," Vexthul announced. "Human consultants mandatory for all aggressive species management. I'm also authorizing immediate recruitment of additional human specialists across all conservation facilities. Ms. Johnson," Kael'thas addressed her formally, "I'd like to offer you the position of Chief Behavioral Management Officer for Station Artemis 7. You'd oversee all species interaction protocols, train staff in your methods." "Can I finish my shift first?" Emma interrupted, checking her wrist comm. "I've got the Zentari feeding at 4. Zilax's scales rippled with alarm. "The Zentari have acid blood. Their feeding protocol requires full hazmat gear and remote handling systems." "Yeah, you've got to use different bowls?" Emma said it like she was discussing dish soap. "The standard metal ones corrode. It's not complicated, just basic chemistry." The cub stirred in her lap, making a small sound. Emma's attention immediately shifted, her hand moving to stroke its head. "Hey, sleepyhead. Feeling better?" The cub looked up at her and made a sound that caused every xenobiologist's scanner to go haywire. A deep, resonant rumbling that came from somewhere in its chest. "That's not possible," Azila whispered. "Crixtha don't purr. Their species doesn't have the anatomical structures for—" The cub was definitely purring. "Apparently they do now," Zilax said faintly. The cub struggled to its feet, the injured leg already bearing more weight thanks to Emma's treatment, and immediately pressed against her side, seeking contact. Emma wrapped an arm around its neck, and the purring intensified. "The Galactic Conservation Authority is issuing new directives," Vexthul announced. "Humans are now classified as essential personnel for all facilities housing high-risk species. This goes into effect immediately." "What should we call this behavioral technique?" Kael'thas asked, already drafting the official documentation. "We need terminology for the training protocols." Emma laughed, the sound echoing through the comm. "On Earth we call it being decent. You should try it." She stood, the cub rising with her, staying close to her side. "Come on, buddy. Let's get you back to your enclosure." Well, your new enclosure, the upgraded one, with the soft bedding and the climbing structures and... She paused, looking at the observation window pointedly. Unrestricted access for approved personnel, meaning me. Obviously, Azila said quickly. I'm updating his file now. Primary caretaker, Emma Johnson. Behavioral bond, established and critical. The walk back to the enclosure was surreal. Emma strolled down the corridor with the galaxy's most feared predator following her like an oversized puppy, its tail swishing contentedly. Staff members pressed themselves against walls, eyes wide, as the pair passed. "Good boy," Emma murmured. "You're being so good. See? Told you we'd figure it out." They reached the newly modified enclosure, larger, enriched with environmental features, and now equipped with a door that Emma's biometrics could open. The cub walked in without hesitation, immediately exploring the new space with obvious pleasure. Emma settled at the desk outside the enclosure, pulling up her task list. The cub circled twice and flopped down on the other side of the transparent barrier, eyes tracking her movements. "Anyone checked on the Vorgath eggs?" Emma asked casually, highlighting the item on her schedule. "They're due to hatch soon. Want to make sure we're ready." Azila's response came after a long pause. Vorgath are murder machines from the moment they hatch. They emerge with fully functional claws and aggressive imprinting behaviors. The standard protocol is robotic handling for the first 6 months. "Perfect. I'll bring extra snacks." Emma made a note. "Maybe some of those protein bars. Everyone likes those." A station-wide memo flashed across every terminal. All containment breach protocols suspended pending human review. New behavioral management procedures in development. Human personnel granted expanded access to high-risk species. Station director authorization. Emma glanced at the cub, who was now fully asleep again, the purring audible even through the barrier. She smiled and returned to her paperwork, filling out incident reports with bureaucratic efficiency. "Hey, kiddo," she said softly, not looking up from her work. "Told you it'd be fine. Want to help me feed the murder hornets tomorrow? The Vespa Galacticus colony just got new larvae." The cub's tail twitched in sleep, like it was dreaming of following its human wherever she went. In the command center, Xelax looked at Kael'thas. Did she just call the Vespa Galacticus murder hornets? Those insects can kill a fully armored soldier in under 30 seconds. Kael'thas said numbly. She's planning to hand-feed them. Of course she is. Azila pulled up Emma's Earth credentials again, reading more carefully this time. Her specialty wasn't just wildlife rehabilitation. She worked in extreme predator recovery. She's handled creatures that Earth's own governments classified as too dangerous for public contact. How is Earth not completely overrun by predators? Xelax asked. Because, Kael'thas said slowly, understanding dawning. Humans are somehow more terrifying than their predators. Not through strength, through this. He gestured at the feed showing Emma doing paperwork, while a Crixtha slept peacefully nearby. Through the ability to turn anything, no matter how deadly, into a companion. Vexthul's hologram nodded gravely. We're not hiring humans as consultants. We're acknowledging that they're the apex species at something we didn't even know was possible. Universal empathy. In her office, Emma finished her reports, stood, stretched, and picked up her lunch container. See you tomorrow, buddy. Sweet dreams. The cub opened one eye, watching her leave, then settled back into sleep with that impossible purring sound still resonating through the station. And somewhere in the Galactic Conservation Network, the first of thousands of requests for human personnel began flooding in from facilities that had spent decades fighting losing battles against aggressive species. The humans, it turned out, had been winning that particular war for millennia. They'd just been too polite to mention it.